You are now tuning in to Stay to the Point Radio.
Go.
You do that too much.
Good afternoon, everyone. You have tuned in to Stay to the Point Radio, WFBS 981. And we're going to get into it and talk to you guys about some things. Yeah. But first, we want to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Sean. Yeah. Then we have Saya Wave. We have Sherry, and we have Jas.
Hey, that was great. How you cannot hear us? But yo, we are here, man. We got a lot to talk about. Jasmine's having technical difficulties in right now at this moment, so it's all good. First and foremost, I want to know, how are y'all doing? How is everything going with y'all?
Sherry, let me go.
Oh, okay. I'm good, y'all. I'm good. I am out of town this weekend, but didn't want to miss the show. So I'm here. I made it happen.
Nice.
How about y'all? How was your week?
Sean?
My week was awesome. There's a lot going on. Y'all know there's some retrogrades and eclipses and all that stuff. So the energy is quite emotional and brewing this week. So I've just been trying to, hold my head and stay in my peace bubble. But it's been a good week. Right. I'm blessed. No complaints.
Word. Jas, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, cool. How you doing today? What's going on?
Living, same with all the retrograde, all the emotions of everybody as a whole right now. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But we're doing it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it, though. We're going to talk about it. My week was great. You know what I'm saying? Just started my new job.
Awesome.
I moved on. I'm no longer in Austin. Now I'm 10 minutes away from home, so I ain't got to drive an hour back, an hour there. So I'm happy about that. And all I've been doing is getting compliments. So that's a plus. So
nice.
It's a good start week. You know what I'm saying?
Very good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we got a lot to get into, man. We got Jas, special guest. That's my sister.
I see my gray hair.
Embrace it.
And that's that wisdom.
Sorry, I just noticed it in the video. Like, dang, girl.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I see it right around her frame.
Yeah.
Right around the frame.
It's like over here, I got a few of them. They thick too. It's crazy. I'm like, ooh. Sorry, go ahead, y'all.
So we got a lot to get into, man. We're going to talk with my sister about her YouTube channel and what's going on with that. How's everything with that and the movement. The movement is doing some movement. I just seen her do the latest dance. She was doing some dancing, trying to top some other TikTok dancers. She was doing a little bit of struggling,
a little bit.
Yeah,
boy, everything was a struggle.
So she's a walking TikTok. As soon as I don't know what it is. I couldn't do it. She never got it from me. I wish I got it from her, but not a camera guy too much. But whatever. So we're gonna get into that. We're also gonna get into J. Cole versus No Name. I didn't even know who this girl was. We got to talk a little bit about that, as well as just society nowadays. There's been a lot of stuff going on. It's just more and more things. And one conversation I got into with a good friend of mine, she came up with some plans that what we should do. Do y'all agree about segregating? Possibly segregating, no longer fighting for equal rights, just having our own shit and calling it a day? What y'all think?
I don't. I don't know how that would. We still have to live here. Now if we're gonna segregate. Right. All of us gonna pack up and move. Then I'm all about that. But if we still gotta live here, what we're gonna do? Just be in a little bubble? I mean,
yeah.
Right.
No, that's sweeping stuff under the rug for me.
Ideally, like say if segregation, if you took it, it really wouldn't work because like you said, I don't want to be restricted from going anywhere. I like the ability to go wherever I want to go. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, the segregation to me, all it would do would create a whole lot more havoc in regards to, you know, if we step out of place or we're not supposed to be here, be there, then that's more, you know, more dead Black people. And that's something we just don't need. It's something that we've already experienced. So why go back to something that we fought not to be, you know what I'm saying? We fought not to be segregated. Now we're fighting to go back to it. That don't make sense.
It's like a little disrespectful.
Exactly. To everybody who's died previously for that fight already. You know what I'm saying? So I think, I don't know. I just think that, and then on top of it, I do believe that there are too many white people on board with us. And I feel like the racist white is the minority. I don't feel like all white people are racist. Like, I'm not that person. You know what I'm saying? So because I know a lot of good people, but, you know, so I do feel like those people with that, you know, mindset of that inferior mindset, that I feel like that they think that we're inferior to them. I feel like they are the minority now. Right. You know, I don't think that would be in our benefit or the benefit of the people who actually do want us around. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the Black culture has made this country better, you know, for people who see Black culture for what it really is, not, you know, cherry picking the bad, you know, because every culture has good and bad in it. And I think a lot of people want to focus on, you know, what they say, Black on Black crime, but there's white on white crime, Spanish on Spanish crime. It's in every culture, but it's only highlighted when we're talking about Black people. So, you know, anything that you can say about a Black person, you can say about anybody else. So I just think it's an ignorant idea because it wouldn't work. At least for me, it wouldn't work. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Jas?
I agree. I'm not going to disrespect everybody who put their life on the line for change just to go back for what? Just for it to move again in the future and we still don't got equal anything. I'm not going to settle for less. I demand equal rights. That's it. Like.
But it's crazy how we were talking about, I don't know if I was talking about this last week about a comedian. He had a stand-up. Now, obviously, it was a really small club, so he had the capacity was really small. It's pretty much the first phase. It just recently happened. And he was, you know, he's doing his stand-up, and then he says, it's crazy how we fighting for Black Lives Matter. Just think about it. Just say it to yourself. I am fighting just for Black Lives Matter, just for lives of Black people to matter. And there's a fight for that. There's a true fight for that. And then, you know, you had some people like the way he was describing, he kept repeating himself and it was making people laugh. But in a sense, there's certain people that was like, It's just the simple as repeating it multiple times just for Black lives to matter. It's a fight. It's a fight. So it was pretty unique, that conversation of being segregated. I don't know how it would work. I don't know how it would even be planned out. It just reminds me of too many movies that we've seen. I don't know if you remember Timeless, the one with Justin Timberlake, that old ass movie. But it was pretty much the Richie Rich over one side of the wall and the average poverty urban side on the other side, and then you had the glamorous cloud on one side and then the dirty ass clouds on the other side. Like it was just literally a separation. And
that's why I feel like it wouldn't work, because it would just bring war to this country on this land, because it would be over territory. Because it's like, where do you tell 36 million people to go? You know what I'm saying? And then you have Spanish people. Then what are we going to do? Segregate them too? Are we just going to divide the country into parts? White people will be like, how do we decide who goes where? Like, are you going to put us in Texas? Like, I don't know. Like, what do we, you know, like, how do you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it doesn't make any sense. And it would just literally, all it would do is cause a lot more division and a lot of war right here in this country. So, because when you're talking about segregating, Is it to the extreme that we have different governments? Like, this country's not set up like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, our country's not set up like North and South Korea or Ethiopia and Eritrea. Like, we don't have separate governments. We're all under one government. It would be a complete restructure, and it would be a hot mess. It's ridiculous. It's not going to work out.
Hey, Sean, what do you think of if we can't get the right, first and foremost, how you feel like it's going? Like, with everything that's going on, is it progressing? Is it on standstill? Is it getting worse? What do you think this is all going to lead to? How long are we going to be patient to fighting for equal rights before it turns violent? What do you think is going to happen?
I can't say what's going to happen. That I don't know. I will say that I think the energy and the movement right now in the last few months has been different than what I've experienced in my lifetime. I think it has a different charge behind it, a different force behind it. As I think I've stated before, I equate it to the resistance in Star Wars. Like, to me, I just feel like you have a lot more people coming together. You have, of course, allies, some who have been woke and been on our side and been fighting and been doing the work. And then you have some people who have come out of their hiding. I think some people, I don't know why, before they didn't feel like this was their charge. They may have felt it in their heart and didn't agree with necessarily because what I thought about the other day, imagine how many people are married, and I'm talking about non-Black or non-people of color, are married to racists. For a white woman or for a white man who's married to someone like that, that probably doesn't have to factor in necessarily to their life, because when they marry that person, okay, they don't like Black people or they don't like people of color. That is not going to really interfere with their life. You know what I'm saying? And so when you talk about people like that who are staying quiet, who have stayed quiet, maybe because I don't want to be in an argument with my spouse, or I don't want to be in an argument with my loved one, who are now, I find a lot of people speaking out and saying, okay, I've always felt like this. I didn't say anything. And therefore I realize now that I was a part of the problem, because there are way more people, like Sherry said, who are for equality and for human rights, because basically that's all we're asking for. We're not asking for a handout. We're not asking for this special treatment. We're not asking to be privileged. We're just asking for equality and for equity. And so with that being said, I think that I feel a good energy in the movement. There's some side eyes I'm giving to some stuff. Like, I feel like focusing on changing Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, that ain't got shit to do with my child possibly having a knee put on his neck. And I personally don't, let's do that after the fact. Like, let's focus on the police and everything else. And then we could get to the little small stuff, like paid 17th leave. Like, let's talk about reparation first. Like that, I think the big stuff needs to be addressed first. And I just don't want everyone to get so excited about the small stuff that they get complacent or they settle, and then we're back to where we were until the next tragedy happens, or, whatever. I just want us to keep our foot on the gas. That is where I'm at right now.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I had that conversation with someone this morning about how I don't understand a lot of this, this silly stuff, that was supposed to make us feel better. Like you said, the Aunt Jemima thing. I was offended by the Paw Patrol, because I'm like, what in the heck does Paw Patrol have to do with this? I just kind of felt like it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think it takes away from the bigger picture when you're nitpicking at all the small stuff. Now, with that being said, I did have somebody, on my timeline today with what are we supposed to do? I said, can we not call white bread anymore? And I thought that was insensitive.
Oh,
you know
Lord
what I'm saying?
What
Because
they
at the end of the, right, like going back to like all this stuff that they're changing, like the Aunt Jemima and all this stuff. And they was like, yeah, I guess we can't call it Black Friday. And I just kind of found it insensitive in that you were mocking a situation.
Okay.
Like, while I don't agree that we should be talking about Aunt Jemima and all that right now, like you said, that doesn't give you the right to be, saying stupid stuff like that. And that, to me, it's insensitive. And does that make you racist? No, but it makes you insensitive, and the compassion gene kind of skipped you. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and then to argue back with me, you don't have the right to argue back with me. That's not your right. You were born white. I'm sorry, you can't argue about this. It wasn't funny. You thought you were being funny. It wasn't funny. And if you don't feel like this is your fight, then my point is, then shut up.
Yeah, really.
Because if you're saying something else, then you're the enemy to me. Because if you don't want to join the fight, that's fine. Don't. I don't have a
Get
problem
beside
with
it or behind it.
Right. Thank you. Perfect. You couldn't say it no better. So I just said, if you can't, if you don't have to protest with me. I don't feel any less or better about you if you don't protest with me. But this right here is not okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I felt about that. And so I was just talking about that, about how we really need to be focusing on a lot of the bigger things. We need to be focusing on schools, and because we need to get to the root of the problem. You can't have a beautiful garden if you continuously have roots growing up in your garden, and you can't get not roots, but weeds growing up in your garden. And if you can't get the weeds to stop if you don't tear them out at the root. And we need to get to the root of the problem. Education is a big thing. And I harp on education because equal education, really does put us in a place and I'm tired of everybody assuming that if a Black kid goes to an Ivy League school, that they were part of the affirmative action or something like that. You know what I'm saying? We can't just have deserve to go to that school. And I think that those are the type of assumptions that we shouldn't need to have, because they should have never needed to be set in place if everybody was equal. And I also agree with the fact that if we all are created equal, then stop asking me what my race is every time I fill out something. Why does that matter?
Even education is trash.
Right. Even something as simple as making a complaint at a restaurant, if you go online, they ask you your race. Why does that matter? You know what I'm saying? Why does that matter? It doesn't matter. It's insane, the whole thing. You can't tell me that race doesn't matter when constantly on everything you're trying to track it. So it matters to somebody.
Right.
It matters to somebody. Might not matter. It doesn't matter to me. But the only reason that race matters to me is because I know that because of my race in certain situations, I'm treated differently. And if that's not go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, Sherry. There was just a cool fun fact. There's this kid by the name of Mikey Williams. I don't know if y'all ever heard of him, but I've been watching him since he's been playing AAU ball. It's a basketball player. Since he's been playing AAU ball with Bronny James, right? LeBron James' son, for the Blue Chips. And this kid is top 3 in ESPN's top 100 high school, right? Big time player. He actually, one of the games, he scored 77 points in one game. You got to check out his highlights. Check out Google Mikey Williams. But anyways, he's very intelligent for a 15-year-old kid. He's looking into maybe possibly, most likely, attending a Black school at HBCU. He's not looking into Duke. He's not looking into North Carolina. He's not looking into those top universities. He wants to go to a Black school, all Black school. He said, "There's no longer I'm gonna be that chain breaker. I'm no longer gonna be that guy or follow route by giving these white colleges my money." And when I say my money, the sponsorships, everything, like you already know, these players, what makes these schools pop. That's what brings them multi-billion-dollar endorsements and all that. So he's like,
that's one of the only reasons why they allow so many Black kids to come to the school, because of the athletic clubs and stuff like that, is because they realize how much of an asset that Black athletes were and how much money they bring in.
But you know how big of an impact, if he does choose to, it's going to bring the revenue over to the Black community, to the Black colleges. And who's going to follow suit? Bronny James. So imagine if these two young kids could come and play together. All right. And
I would love to see something like that. I would love to see Black athletes compete on a Black platform like HBCUs. I think that changes, and especially Bronny James, because of who his father is. I think him going, and then all of the athletes that will come after them or with them in that same year, just making a general statement like we can take our talents elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we do need to start doing that. And I have a daughter approaching college, in the next couple of years, and I want her to go to HBCU. She don't necessarily want to go to an HBCU. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working on it. But it's crazy. I just feel that way because it's like, why should I give my money to a school that just 30, 40 years ago didn't even accept Black kids at the school? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Hold on.
So it's really cool. Go ahead, Jas.
So what I've heard, I've heard a lot on my timeline. There's been a lot of debating. I agree with Sherry. There's a lot of people that are white coming out the woodwork, stating their concerns, their opinions. And contrary to belief, I'm cool with that. I'm not going to deal with disrespect, but I do feel like these are conversations that need to be had, even if it's exhausting to us, only because there are people who are listening. There are people who are skimming down the timeline like, oh, damn, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. I probably should change this. There are people who are joining the movement beside us. But that being said, I've heard some things like HBCUs are handouts and some bull crap about Black on Black dating sites to promote Black people finding each other. These are all things that if a white person did it, it'd be racist. And my opinions on that is that's bullshit. The way I look at generational trauma and slavery back then, it's like a stocking, and the rip kept going and going and going, and people have tried to put Band-Aids on it. But at the end of the day, it takes effect into us now. So these things are put in place for us because of something that was done to us. Now, I've seen a lot of white people come out the gate and they're like, well, what about us? Show me where you were oppressed and you can have people want these things. They want to be able to say white pride. A lot of people have been saying, when can I have a White History Month? You want these things, but if you knew what it meant to have these things, the pain that people went through to have just that, you wouldn't want it. You wouldn't want it. So when it comes to HBCUs, a lot of people think that because you're Black, you can get into an HBCU. That's not the case. You actually have to have the education to get into these colleges. These colleges, a lot of white people are like, if you're Black, you can get into them. No.
Like automatically. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's not the case.
Their standards are not any lower, if not higher, than is to get into these. Like I said, some of these schools like Spelman and Morehouse and stuff, those are basically Ivy League schools for Black people. Like it's not, you're not getting in there, with a 2.0 GPA. FYI, It's not happening. So at a mediocre SAT score, like that's not the case. You know what I'm saying?
Like what you said about schooling earlier, like even that's trash. We've been learning about Christopher Columbus and all this other stuff, and we haven't learned about our history. You go to HBCU, we can learn about our history. It's not bullshit. It's not lies. We are actually learning about our history. So I don't see what the problem is.
And you're able to have an open discussion. You're not made to feel like you can't ask questions or to, like in regular school, even during Black History Month, nobody wants to raise their hand and ask questions or say anything to oppose what the teacher is teaching you. And not to mention teachers, these are undereducated teachers to be teaching about Black history because they learned about Black history in the same way that they're teaching it with 28 days a year. You know what I'm saying? The point of Black History Month is we shouldn't have to have Black History Month because Black history is U.S. history. And if we learned about U.S. history, why do we learn more about European history than we do about U.S. Black history? Because Black history is U.S. history. That's the thing. We've been here since the start of this country and before. So when you're talking about U.S. history, Black history should be included in that. And it really is just that simple. And you can try to argue with me until you're blue in the face. You're not going to sound like you have any sense, because we've been here. We came over here with you.
Yeah.
Actually, we were here before you. But if we want to talk about the start of this nation or the United States or whatever have you, we've been here and we built this bitch with you. So I don't understand your argument as to why this cannot be taught in the regular curriculum all year long.
Even though
Yeah.
even though we were forced here, and they stole it from Indians, because Indians was here first and Native Americans was here first.
And they romanticize all of that when it's taught to us. They romanticize, I mean, even Thanksgiving. Pocahontas. Yeah, they romanticize it all. And, you know, and then.
Be a white dude.
I mean, but right. You know, I mean, it's the whole thing. It's just, it's not right. You know, you're not going to sit here. You make Christopher Clark. You mad that we are supposedly, at least I know that I didn't, because I look at these people like humans, but they're mad because they say that we're taking criminals and making them martyrs somehow.
Oh, that sounds like Candace bum ass.
but yet you take somebody like Christopher Columbus and you got statues of this man and many others all around this country, as if they were good people. So, you know, you can do it, make statues and everything, but we can't do it. And you can teach your children and my children that Christopher Columbus was some type of amazing person. But because I see George Floyd as a human being, I'm wrong?
Or how about
that doesn't even make sense.
How about the people who brought up George Floyd's past and criminal history but can't bring up their own presidents?
That's something I talk about a lot, you know, because I don't like Donald Trump. And, you know, Donald Trump's history is extremely jaded. You know, first and foremost, you know, people talk about welfare. Number one, welfare was created for white people during the Great Depression.
And mainly white people are on welfare. That's what's crazy.
And then number two, they decided to keep it around because it has to be around, because they don't want to take a minimum wage and lift it off of $7.25. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's one or the other. $7.25 an hour in a month is $1,300 before taxes. My rent is more than that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, who can survive off of $7.25 an hour? Nobody. Then people that even make $15 an hour can't even afford health insurance and all that other stuff. You have millions of people without insurance to take care of themselves, which should be a human right to do. If you don't feel well, you should be able to go to the hospital. And you have people that make $15 an hour that can't afford to go to the hospital. And $15 an hour is more than twice what the federal minimum wage is.
Right.
There's nothing about that makes sense.
There's still so much racism. It's ridiculous. Systematic racism, just ridiculous.
Racism, capitalism, all kinds
Slavery
of
is still around.
I mean,
jail is predominantly black people, but it's perfectly legal to send them there for no damn reason.
You know, and I don't know if you guys seen the T.I. Candace and
yes,
what's the name thing, because I wanted to talk about that with you all, because
that was sometime last year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was the Diddy Summit.
That's why everybody was. That was like, why is all them people? Well, I'm just now seeing it, right? And her opinion about the whole, I agreed with. That's the thing. I agree with T.I. You want to like Candace because she's super intelligent, right? And it's nice to see an intelligent black woman. But that girl is lost as hell, okay? And that bothers me that she could be so intelligent and she's using it for all the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. Because I don't understand how you can sit there and talk about schools, but then talk about LeBron James. Well, LeBron James created a school. You know what I'm saying? So while you sit up there, you see the problem. That's how I know she's intelligent, because she sees the problem. You know, she recognizes the problem. But then she goes and she's supporting people like Donald Trump and, you know, who else was she talking about? A couple of people. I've seen a few interviews like Ben Carson and all these other people. You go and you support these people, But then when people ask you direct questions, you deflect. I mean, I can see because Donald Trump does this exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
But when
Same
somebody
tactic.
asks you when someone asks you a direct question, you deflect completely, 100%, because you know that your answer is not going to make any sense, you know? And, you know, like, I don't understand her all the way. I'm trying, but I really wish that she would use her platform for a different reason. I mean, we know that's probably not going to happen, but I also like watching that interview, watching her Twitter. She's got a book coming out. I think she just published or whatever.
I already know. See, that's what it is. It's to put the heat behind it. You know, it's the publicity stunt. A lot of this stuff too. I mean, she's obviously who she is. She's always keeping the same energy, but she's not. She only pops up just like Kanye West, just like a few other people that pop up to do some loony stuff or some crazy stuff. It's just to promote something that's about to come out. And her
Yeah,
book
like
is about to come out.
why does she only pop up when a black man dies? And for me, where she lost me is with the whole George Floyd this and George Floyd that. Like, first of all, that's where she loses the black community, because a lot of people in the black community see exactly what she sees. You know what I'm saying? In regards to, but a lot of things she spits out numbers. But one thing she had said in that interview, which had bothered me, she was talking about, because when somebody asks me if I'm Democrat or Republican, I don't really have an answer for you, because I really think they're all in bed together. And so, to my point, you know, she was talking about how Democrats want to keep the black community this way, that way. So I was like, all right, well, let's address the past 40 years, right, of office. In office in the past 40 years, it's been 24 years of Republican administration and 16 years of Democratic administration. So how is it that the Republicans are trying to help us? Because they've been in administration more than Democrats have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when I look at it, I'm kind of seeing all of y'all at fault, because you're not addressing a lot of the more important issues that will fix these issues that you claim to have with our community. The problem is they don't want to fix it. And then we have to want to fix it too, you know, because somebody can lead you to water, but if you can lead somebody to water, but you can't make them drink. You understand what I'm saying? So there's that too. But don't talk about stuff and not do anything about it. And I think that's why I respect LeBron James. And I kind of wish, like I said before in our previous podcast and our previous show, that money, even though it was $10 million a year for over a 10-year period, Michael Jordan's money or whatever, I kind of wish it was $10 million to individual schools every year, or something to really make a difference, you know, that I know is going to make a difference. Because I really, truly believe with all my heart that Black children should not have to leave their neighborhoods to go to a good school. I don't think that that's right. And then there's a whole bunch of other things to break down too, about taxes and where all those businesses that are profiting off of our community are, their money, their tax dollars are going back into their neighborhoods because their PO boxes are registered elsewhere where their businesses are registered. You know, anybody who has a business knows that you can register your business to a completely separate address than where it's actually located. So, you know, that's not right to me.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is right to me.
Let me switch gears. Let's switch gears a little bit, but keep the same content. And I'm gonna start with Sean. This is the Madness with Fanatics section. This is the sports section, which I want to get into the Kyrie section of it. I don't know if y'all heard, but Kyrie Irving had pretty much preached and wants the players to not play this season. He wants us not to even play at all this whole season. With everything that's going on, with the movement, the protests, he's like, the best way of doing it is kind of to hurt the owners and the commissioner by getting in their pockets but not playing. Obviously, there's mixed signals on that, because there's players that do want to play because they're ball players, and they feel like, I think this is the best way to kind of like at least lighten the mood up a little bit, just to have some type of sports in right now that's showing at this moment. Now, Sean, how do you feel about Kyrie Irving and his statement with not playing?
It's his opinion. I mean, that's how I feel about it. I think it's his opinion, and he has a right to that. I haven't read up much on what exactly he said, but I think he's entitled to have an opinion. I do understand to some degree where he's coming from. And, I think everyone has different ways of releasing kind of the tension that's going on right now. For him, he wants to get in the owner's pockets. For other people, they want to lighten the mood and bring back sports because they either, one, miss it because it's their profession, or two, they just want fans to be able to have something else to balance out their focus instead of, coronavirus and the political state of the country, the social state of the country. So, I honestly don't have an opinion on him. I'm just at a space right now where I think everyone's entitled to an opinion, and everything someone says doesn't have to mean it's a clapback. It doesn't have to mean it's against someone else. Of course, they want to say he's saying that because LeBron wants to play and blah, blah, blah. I'm just so over that shit. I'm just at a space where I'm like, let people live. Like, as long as he didn't mention LeBron and say LeBron was stupid for his opinion and this is what we should do, I think it's absolutely okay for him to have a difference of opinion. And it doesn't mean that people have to be pent against each other or that his opinion has to now be negative because it's not going with the majority. I'm usually in the minority in terms of my opinion, and I've been called all kind of things for that. So I just think it's an opinion, and I think he's entitled to that, just like anybody else.
Yeah, I think so too. But just to kind of put some clarity behind what he was saying, there's rumor that he wanted to play originally, right?
Okay.
He wanted to play originally, and due to what's going on with the coronavirus and everything like that, he's still not 100%, right? And the team already didn't want him. They were shutting him down for the season. With obviously KD's been out this whole season, so they pretty much shutting him down. Obviously the Nets don't have no chance of making the playoffs. But
well, wait a minute. Is he going to be in this? Is he in the playoffs? Like, are they in the top 22?
I believe they were in the top 22.
Okay, so you're saying he has no chance of advancing. He's gonna make. He's in the 22, but you're saying as far as their team.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, due to his team. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, but he still has an opportunity to make it there. Okay. So what happened was they said no. Okay, they shut it down. Of course, this damn lawnmower starts right when I'm talking. So of course they shut him down. They said no, and then right when they shut him down, he all of a sudden had a change of heart where he then came up and made a statement that all players should not even play this season. Okay, so it was everybody was saying, well, he was being a little opportunist, like he was trying to find his way in. He wanted to play originally, and then it turned around, and when he found out he wasn't going to play, he's like, well, we shouldn't play at all. Because of what everything was going on. And again, that's from sources what Kendrick Perkins said, because Kendrick Perkins had a lot to say about Kyrie. And his opinion was
he has a lot to say about everybody.
Right. I mean, he's a very outspoken guy. I mean, but that's him. I think Perkins has always been that guy to kind of speak out about things. And he said that if you would put Kyrie's brain in a bird, the bird will fly backwards. And I was like, that was a major hit. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I think that's a little extra.
He said if you take Kyrie Irving's brain and put it in a bird, that the bird will fly backwards.
And see, that's why I don't necessarily respect Kendrick's opinion sometimes, because he throws shade. Like, if you got an opinion, just say what it is for the topic. But when you be trying to throw shade at people, he loses me with that. He does that a lot. Like, sit your behind down because you just mad because you ain't in somebody's top 5. Shut up.
Right. He went too far with that statement. But what he said after that, it made complete sense. He was like, he's trying to be a leader when he's not. Not that part. He's trying to be a leader, but when you are making a statement, such a bold statement in the sense of not playing at all for the whole season, but then don't have a plan. So you going in and you saying, all right, 100%, everybody should not play. Okay, so what's the plan after that? We don't know, because you got to take into consideration there are ball players that don't have the salary that you have, sir. Like there's ball players that are third string. You know, these guys are making six figures, and I wouldn't say they live in check by check. Six figures is not no check by check, but compared to what the NBA and what they make, is check by check. So you can't just make a dramatic, bold statement without having a plan. And that's what he came up, and I was like, you know what? That's absolutely true. I mean, have a plan. I mean, you are vice president of the Player Association right next to Chris Paul. Now, I don't agree of the fact that there's only a certain amount of players that are able to vote. I think it's over 40 players. And pretty much the majority said, let's play. That's why the season is playing. But one thing about the commissioner, which I rock with so much, he's like, look, if you don't want to play, you can sit out. There's not going to be any fines. There's not going to be anything like that. You could sit out, because it's a very sensitive state. It's a very sensitive part right now. Like, there's a lot going on. He completely understands. You already know the commissioner is really about his players. So I salute him on that. But then here comes KD stating that Kendrick Perkins is a sellout.
I mean, him and Kendrick have a history, though. They have a history. But
they teammates. And matter of fact, Kendrick responded. He was like, you my brother. Like, I'm not going to take that personal. I'm not going to take that you. And he pretty much put a lot of little personal things in there where he's like, yo, my wife used to cook your favorite dish. My sons still look at you as Uncle KD.
Oh,
like, so he went into that. He went in depth. He went personal. He went emotional on it.
He has come for KD so many times. Y'all know I'm not Team KD, but let's be clear. Don't be trying to play like you some type of martyr or you some saint. You have come for KD a lot of times. So we know, I mean, don't do that. Like, they can have beef and it's okay, but don't try and play this whole, like, my wife did this for you, my kids and all this other stuff. Like, you ain't never came for him. Because he has. And that's just that. I mean, that's okay. I don't know. I mean, now that you put that twist on it, I don't know if Kyrie's intentions are different. I'll say this, I still think it's his opinion. Whether, him changing his mind does sound suspect, but I don't think that surprises me, because I mean, Kyrie is Kyrie. I think everyone who watches basketball kind of knows the character Kyrie is. So I don't think any of that surprises me, and I don't think that he's going to be the one decision maker or the one opinion that's going to change what everyone else decides to do. I think his opinion will be just that, an opinion. And that's that. The biggest thing I worry about for those players is coronavirus, because it's on its second wave and people acting like the thing don't exist. And honestly, that's more so my concern for these players than anything else.
Right. I agree.
I think with Kyrie, I kind of, like, my thing about it is I think Kyrie, I think he is right. The second opinion about Kyrie that he said is right. Kyrie wants to be a leader, and I'm not opposed to that. I just think that he hasn't come into himself yet. And I think that as Black people, we need to stop tearing each other down. That's a big part of the problem. I kind of hate to see them publicly going at each other, because it's not necessary. These are conversations that they could have privately. So I don't respect Kendrick for that, coming out at Kyrie, because you should be encouraging this Black man to use his platform for the positive rather than knocking him down because he's trying to. He can't articulate his words right yet. And he's just not in that place where he wants to be, not where he should be, but necessarily, but where he wants to be. And all of us as growing adults, I think we all can attest to different stages of life that we've been through. And in those different stages of life, they kind of shape your opinions about things. You understand? So I just think that that Kyrie wants to be a leader. We knew that when him and Bron were going at it. That was the problem there, is that you can't have two stars. You know what I'm saying? and Kyrie wanted to be a star before it was his time to be a star. I mean, it is what it is. He didn't want to play his position, and Kyrie struggles with that because he's walking before he crawls a lot of times. But I don't think that necessarily means that we can tear him down as a person. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So,
I agree. So yeah, with that being said, I want to definitely go into a commercial break real quick. And when we get back, we'll talk a little bit with Jas on her YouTube channel. And we'll be back with that. All right, guys. So give us, shout out. Make sure y'all follow us on Stay to the Point Radio as well. You know what it is. It's WFES 98.1